In the late 19th century, one man's name would become forever intertwined with both wealth and horror. James Jameson, the heir to the Jameson Irish whiskey fortune, was a man of privilege, a man of means. But beneath the gilded surface of his life lay a tale so grotesque, so unfathomable, that it would stain his family's name for generations to come. This is the chilling story of how James Jameson traveled deep into Africa, purchased a slave girl, and handed her over to cannibals, all in the name of art. To understand the man behind this atrocity, we must first understand his world. Born into immense wealth, James Jameson was the heir to one of the most recognizable brands of his time, Jameson Irish whiskey. With endless resources at his disposal, he was a man of leisure, an adventurer with an insatiable curiosity for the exotic and the unknown. But as history has shown us, curiosity, when unchecked, can transform into something far darker. In 1888, Jameson joined a European expedition into the Congo Free State, a region under the brutal control of King Leopold II of Belgium. This so-called expedition was steeped in exploitation and colonial violence, as European powers sought to strip Africa of its resources and its humanity. Among these men, Jameson stood out, not as a leader but as an observer, a man seeking to satisfy his morbid fascination with the lives of those he deemed uncivilized. It was during this expedition that Jameson arrived in the town of Ribakiba, known today as Lokandu. Here, amidst the sweltering heat and the dense jungle, Jameson encountered the leaders of a local tribe. What he proposed to them would shock even the most hardened souls. Jameson offered 6 handkerchiefs, cheap trinkets by any measure, in exchange for something unthinkable, a demonstration of cannibalism. Yes, you heard that correctly. 6 handkerchiefs. That was all it took for Jameson to arrange the murder of an innocent child. The tribesmen, perhaps amused by Jameson's request, agreed to his terms. They told him to wait as they brought forth a young girl, a child no older than 10. Her eyes betrayed a mixture of fear and confusion as she was led toward her fate. Jameson, standing nearby, reportedly showed no sign of hesitation. Instead, he handed over the handkerchiefs and waited, sketchbook in hand. What unfolded next defies comprehension. The girl was tied to a tree. She cried out, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. The tribesmen surrounded her, knives glinting in the flickering light of the fire. And then, the unimaginable began. Before Jameson's very eyes, the men plunged their blades into the girl, tearing her apart piece by piece. Her screams echoed through the jungle, only to be silenced as her lifeless body was carved and cooked. As this horrific scene unfolded, Jameson did not intervene. He did not cry out. He did not turn away. Instead, he calmly opened his sketchbook and began to draw. He captured the moment in grotesque detail, as if he were an artist painting a landscape. When asked why he did such a thing, Jameson would later claim it was all a joke, a dark jest that had, in his words, gone too far. Word of Jameson's atrocity began to spread after Asad Farhan, a translator on the expedition, testified about what he had witnessed. Farhan's account was published in newspapers across Europe, sparking outrage and disbelief. Jameson, desperate to salvage his reputation, tried to downplay the incident. He claimed he never expected the girl to be killed, insisting that the entire ordeal was a misunderstanding. But his excuses only poured fuel on the fire. How could anyone believe that such a request, the purchase of a child for 6 handkerchiefs, was anything other than premeditated evil? Jameson's wealth and privilege shielded him from the worst consequences. Though his actions were condemned, he faced no legal repercussions. He died shortly after the incident, succumbing to a fever in 1888. Some say it was karma. Others believe he escaped justice far too easily. Today, the name Jameson is synonymous with fine Irish whiskey, a brand enjoyed by millions around the world. But few know the dark story lurking behind the name. James Jameson's actions in the Congo are a reminder of the horrors wrought by colonialism, of the lives destroyed in the name of curiosity and greed. His story is not just one of personal depravity, but of an entire system that dehumanized and exploited the vulnerable. The girl he sacrificed for his so-called art remains nameless, her life reduced to a footnote in history. But her story, and the unspeakable cruelty she endured, deserves to be remembered. For in remembering, we confront the darkest corners of human nature and the atrocities that wealth and power can so easily conceal. This story is not just about James Jameson. It is about the countless lives lost, the innocent voices silenced, and the unimaginable cruelty that unfolded under the banner of imperialism and privilege. It is a stark reminder of the darkness that humanity is capable of when power and wealth go unchecked. James Jameson's actions may be relegated to the pages of history, but the pain he inflicted and the life he so casually discarded should never be forgotten. The nameless girl. Her story, her suffering, stands as a symbol of all the victims of greed, exploitation, and inhumanity. Her name may never be known, but her spirit lingers, haunting the legacy of those who stole her future for something as trivial as a so-called joke. Can we ever justify such cruelty? Can we ever forgive those who watch suffering with indifference? So the next time you see a name celebrated for its wealth or success, remember this. Behind the masks of power and prestige often lie stories of pain, of exploitation, of lives lost to satisfy the darkest desires of men who think themselves untouchable. We owe it to those victims to remember, because forgetting only ensures that history will repeat itself.